So is there anybody that AEW can pick up off this recent release list from WWE you think can help them out?
Honestly, no. And here's why. Like, I know people are crapping all over Edge because he wasn't a needle mover. It doesn't matter who it is. Once they're there for more than 2 weeks, it's going to fall off. The show itself needs a radical overhaul. It needs a production overhaul. It needs a creative overhaul. It's not the talent that's the problem with AEW.
Right.
It's the leadership. It's creative. It's the production. So it doesn't matter who you bring. They can drop the Undertaker there, and fine, they're going to get a great pop. Oh my God, the Undertaker's on AEW. Oh my God, so was it. But 2 weeks later, okay, who cares? It's the same crap. Yes, you know what? They released a lot of girls.
Right.
And that women's division does need help, but they also don't know what to do with people. So I'm really hard pressed. My mindset is, depending on your age, right? Because if I'm a guy like a Josh Alexander, I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. I've got a lot of injuries. I actually accomplished the main goal I had in life, which was to become TNA champion. I know that I'm probably not going to get a lot of mileage out of a WWE run, but if Tony's going to give me a giant enough contract for me to catch out and take care of my family, I'm going to go to AEW. Whereas if I'm young and I'm still trying to build my equity, I'm still trying to get myself out there and build my brand, I'm staying as far away from AEW as humanly possible, unless Tony writes a check that's so big I can't ignore it. Okada. But because to me, I'm like, I'd rather take my chances going to TNA or going overseas and reinventing myself, and trying to pull a Cardona where, where I reinvented myself so thoroughly that people can't help but notice or I guess maybe even like Drew McIntyre. McIntyre did phenomenal after he got released and had that brief little run in TNA and totally reinvented himself. So there's tons of opportunity for a lot of the people who got cut. I guess maybe if you really had to, it would be, I would say Strowman. But even then, I don't know, what are you going to do with him?
Can he still even run? His legs look bad every time.
That's it, too. So but yeah, I don't know. I'm talking about who's released. I'm shooting for TNA. I'm shooting for TNA. I'm shooting for New Japan, who is in desperate need of new stars and new blood and new energy. We all know what's up with this long shot of creating essentially the Japanese NWA. The energy isn't there. The money isn't there. So we gotta do something where we all band together and pray that the rising tide will lift all ships. But that's also why I feel in my heart of hearts they're going to wind up working out some kind of a deal with the WWE, because at the end of the day, what's going to be the most exciting thing that can happen for them? You get someone like a Sheamus or an Austin Theory in the G1 tournament. Well, that's doing gangbusters, because a WWE mid-carder who isn't on TV often is still more famous than 90% of the main eventers on your show. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to stay away from AEW unless the check is really big.
Yeah, I think Baszler will end up there, but that's about it for me.
That's about it. I think she's the only person who really kind of get anything out of it.
Yeah, she'll get one.
They can put her. They can put her back with Kyle and
Marina Shafir. And I saw she posted a picture on Instagram today of the two of them. So yeah, that makes sense. But you said she's older, so it makes sense. She's over 40, isn't she? So yeah, she's not even close to 40. She's over. So yeah, any of the older people, I agree with you 100%. TNA is where I would go.
Yeah. Well, you know what? AEW can maybe, if they don't fumble it, you can finally do the triple threat match with Marina, Baszler, and Rhonda, and give the fans what they want. And then again, you could put Shayna back with Kyle O'Reilly and those guys, and mimic some of that ROH energy. And then after that, it is what it is, But other than everybody else, if I'm Cora Jade, I'm going to TNA.
She's already established herself in TNA with what she's done with the partnership.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes, TNA can't take everybody under the sun, but to me, TNA's the place where I want to go if I'm young or newly released. The energy and the momentum is there.
Yeah, they're more fun to watch, and it's at least because AEW, their biggest problem is the and then what? Like they can set something up initially, but and then what? Like you said, they could bring out Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, whomever. Okay. And then what? Like that's even like with Hangman's title thing, like where their longest story they ever told, with Hangman getting over being a drunk and all that and beating Omega. What happened after? Nothing. The and then what?
That's it.
Drives me nuts. That's what kills me. I want them to be good. I tried and they drove me insane. That's all I got. Like it's
No, I get it.
I tried.
I get it.
I'm a very positive human being and they made me just not want to watch.
Kev, Jake and I talked about it on our last show. Tony just doesn't know how to run a TV program, does he?
No, not at all. Not at all. And for a guy who is allegedly supposed to be an analyst, I would think that he should be able to pull the data to see where exactly the show is not succeeding, because their problems are where the problems have always been since day one. To me, it's like, listen, dude, the one thing I'll give you is once you get it, wrestling is not hard. The famous Rip Rogers quote, I apologize for cursing, but the famous Rip Rogers quote, this shit isn't hard, because it's not. It's wrestling is, and I mean this in a positive way, you can say it. Wrestling is about a lowest common denominators. It is about a visceral emotion, visceral reactions, good versus evil. It is super simplistic storytelling. The only time it should ever be complicated is if you're telling a really long story and you need to find a way to extend it to get to a certain point that you need to make. The other than that, it's good guys versus bad guys. Is it a personal beef, or is it a professional beef? You beat me a couple times, I got to get my win back. Okay, you beat me again, so now while you're cutting this interview, I'm gonna chop block you. I'm gonna throw you into my submission. I'm gonna hurt you because I need to embarrass you. And then what do we follow up with? We come back the next week, and the good guy is limping to the ring and demands a fight. And your authority figure goes, no, you're not cleared to wrestle, but we'll set it up for 3 weeks at this place. And just before the good guy goes to leave, what happens? The bad guy comes out and chop blocks him again and throws him into submission one more time. Like the shit's super simple. I just gave you 4 weeks of TV in 20 seconds.
The problem is Tony would put it in 20 seconds. He would have that in one segment.
That's it.
That's the problem.
Dude, and that one segment would repeat 5 times. How many times have we been watching the show and you have seen 6 run-ins, 6 run-ins in a row, 3 of the same kind of lame-ass vignette, and then you get like a match where you're like, well, what was the point of this? Why did this happen? Or go like, why is this terrible match closing out the show? This is like the opening and the close are the most important moments of the show. Why is this lame crap happening here? What is going on? It's like no one asked for this.
Like when we talked about the MJF Hurt Syndicate thing, and they did it all in, like Jake said, not even 15 minutes, the whole segment was gone. That would have been the great main event if they would have spaced it out through. Seriously. Opened up the show with it, 9:00 hour main event, but they don't do any of that, and it drives me crazy because I want
you want it to be good.
I like to stick around and watch the main events, but the main events suck,
and they don't matter. Like it has no. The whole point of wrestling, it's all about making an emotional connection, but they focus on the moves, and it's like the moves are part of it, but if you're not connected to the why behind them, who cares? I mean, Jey Uso is your prime example. His moves aren't the best. His matches aren't the best, but he's connected with a chunk of the audience, and it's most of them. It's not that hard to see.
I tell people all the time, too, being a star in wrestling, it has very little to do with your ability to wrestle. It really does. You got to have a look, and you've got to have charisma. And if you have something to say, it's even better. Like, Lex Luger, to me, is one of my favorite wrestlers. I love Sting. But the fact of the matter is, neither one of them could talk until way late in their career. Luger didn't really figure it out until the end of WCW, but he looked like a star, carried himself like a star, and the torture rack was one of the greatest finishers of all time. Sting was a very dynamic performer, but his promos were the drizzling shits, and he couldn't talk until he got to TNA, right? And then you finally got to see cool Sting. And then you get a guy like Austin. After Austin breaks his neck, Steve Austin's wrestling style was radically different. Like, he changed. There wasn't a lot of finesse in there, right? Until he was gone, and then he came back and he had that awesome match with Benoit. I'm like, oh my God, Stone Cold can still wrestle. But like, people pay to see familiarity, right? Like, Hogan. People paid to see Hogan point at you, give you a big boot, drop the leg. The Rock. People paid to see the People's Elbow, and sometimes the Rock Bottom, but guess what? The People's Elbow was more important. Same thing. Austin, the Stunner. The Fez press whip punches, Stunner. Cena, attitude adjustment, you can't see me. Like, Brett's probably the only guy who like had more moves than everybody wanted to see, because we knew that Brett was going to hit the 5 moves of Doom. We just wanted to see what sequence he was going to hit them in this time. The Flair, I want to see him flip over the turnbuckle, and I want to see him hit the figure 4. Like, it's like all the biggest names don't do a lot of stuff. That wasn't really until until Eddie, until Eddie, until the Eddies, the Engels, the Jerichos, and even then they got the WWE. What did it come down to? Lion Salt, Lion Tamer. Ray 619. Eddie Frog Splash. So it's like the greatest talents. You're not doing a lot, because that's not what people want to see you hit the greatest hits. Give me my hits, and then I'm going to go home. And if you got an encore for me, let me see the encore. But I'm here for Enter Sandman.
Right. And
let's get to it.
And then save your big jam set for the major shows, for the big shows that have a great 25-minute match where you do everything you can do, as opposed to Will Ospreay, who does everything he can do in every single match. So none of it feels special at all.
Jake, that's perfect, because all those finishes that Kevin mentioned, they're all protected.
Yes.
They're all protected finishes for the most part.
Exactly.
Dude, the cage match with Kyle Fletcher, right? I love this because right what happened the next night after we get Rollins and Punk. No one remembers that they did a Spanish fly off the top of the cage, right? No one remembers it. No one remembers it. The audience didn't even really pop for it, because then they immediately went to 5 other finishers that meant nothing. Versus what did you get in Punk and Rollins? Like, the biggest move of the night was the superplex, and it wasn't even off the top of the cage. It was Punk just off the top of the cage, and Rollins had a regular superplex. So it wasn't like the Bret Sid superplex off the top of Big Blue. So so we're talking like super simple shit getting talked about with this great reverence, versus stuff where someone could have actually died. If someone's head went to the left instead of the right. And for all its pomp and circumstances, no one remembers it. No one's ever going to remember it, because AEW is too stupid to play clips to remind you of cool stuff.
No recap.
And it wasn't the finish.
It wasn't even the effing finish. Well, or same thing with Tony Storm and with Mariah, right? Like they had the dumb table bump wasn't even the finish of the match. Like, what was the point? Yeah. If you're gonna do all this big shit, it's gotta mean something. Because now you get to the point where what's left to do? You have to pull out a weapon and shoot someone. It's like, well, like, I don't. Why are you driving it to a point where there's no way it becomes impossible to please even the easiest to please?
Yeah, I feel like
they're hitting 5 finishes, and then they're winning with a roll up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
dude, and like what? Like, I think Jake mentioned it, and Cornette's mentioned it. A bunch of they get the crowd up, the crowd's up, hit it now, end it, and they lose the crowd. The crowd's gone,
and they go 5 more minutes.
Yep, and dude, we've seen the end result of this. We watched this kill Japanese wrestling at the close of the 90s.
Right.
Like, they would do all this insane crap in FMW and all this crazy stuff in New Japan. We're like, suplexes galore. Everybody's getting, like, we're seeing German suplexes from the apron to the floor, and then all of a sudden the match ends in a small package 20 minutes later. Like, what?
And these people, they see these matches, like the people now see the clips or the tapes of those matches, and they think it was great. It's like, no, that killed it. Or they see like Attitude Era stuff, and they think like Shane McMahon was falling off the Titantron on every Monday Night Raw. It's like, no, that was once. That was at a SummerSlam once. One time he did that. Like, Jesus. And they just want to do it every freaking show. And now that it seems like they're leading to another Blood and Guts, and like, yay! Oh Christ! Please God, no. Just please don't die. Please don't die. That shouldn't be a chant. That should not be a chant that ever happens in this.
Seriously though. I think about this. Like if you were around for like ECW, like old school ECW, like we're throwing chairs into the ring, ECW. Like if you got through that and people didn't chant "Please don't die" unless it was a joke at Mikey Whipwreck or Spike, you're in trouble. Like you are in trouble. Like it's gone too far, and we're at a spot where everybody forgets like the New Jack Vic Grind spot was a mistake.
Right.
That was a horrible accident when it happened to ECW. So when you're doing stuff that's happening in lieu of a major mistake where people almost got killed, you're going in the wrong direction. You're going like we're going towards ancient Rome levels of debauchery, and that's not good for anybody because it's insustainable.
Yeah, and you can see it in the crowd.
How do you top it? How do you top
That's
it?
all they're waiting for. Oh, what are you going to do next? That was cool. You jumped through the fire. Great. Now jump off the cliff. Oh, Jesus.
Yep, that's it, right? Dude, the thing about Spike had gone through so many tables that they had to start setting the tables on fire. To their credit, they only did it a couple of times. But yeah, that's where it got so commonplace that we had to start setting dudes on fire for a little bit.
Scary.
And then finally someone was like, all right, brother, slow it down.
Pull that back a little bit.